Welcome to Post-Burnout.com interviews. My name is Aaron Kavanagh and I'm the website's founder and editor-in-chief. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. Our interviews are mainly recorded to be transcribed, but every now and again we release the audio in a series we call Post-Burnout.com interviews. If you enjoy what we do, be sure to subscribe. In this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, we speak with the Tipperary pop star Micah. She talks about her new single Blame, balancing being a professional musician with teaching, her upcoming EP which may eventuate into a full album, her upcoming gig at Whelan's, transitioning from a session musician to a solo artist, and more. Yeah, so the first thing I just wanted to ask you actually was, I know you have a very extensive background in music. You've been doing it, I believe, since you were a kid. I was wondering, what kind of got you interested in music to begin with?
Honestly, I can say it was my family. And the reason being is that I kind of grew up in households where everyone kind of sang, but I'm kind of the black sheep that I went and pursued it. It was like, oh yeah, we all can sing. And then I went off and did it. But no, it would have started from a young age. I mean, my grandmother, my father's mother, she actually used to win singing awards. So she lived on the Galway Roscommon border, and she used to win all the awards for singing. And actually, funny, her teacher wanted her to either be a musician or a teacher, and I'm both those things now. So it took a generation down. And then on my mom's side, my grandmother always sang, my grandfather always played. My mom and my dad are both in choir. My childhood was like, my dad is a super fan of Mark Knopfler, so Dire Straits was blared in the car constantly. My mum, actually, funnily enough, is super modern with her music in terms of she likes everything. She'll turn, she put a bit of Dua Lipa on there, that kind of way. So yeah. She always kind of moved more. My dad is a bit more traditional, because at one point we had going to Wexford listening to Gregorian chant. So I like choirs, so no choice. And then I got a lead in the town musical for musical society for Sound of Music, Gretel. I think I was about maybe 5. I was quite young at the time.
Yeah.
Because when they do the audition process, apparently this is, my mum always remembers this, is you were meant to stand out and say, "Oh, Gretel," something like that. And I couldn't remember the name. So I stepped out and went, "Sorry, I can't remember the name." And your mom goes, "I'll just say your name." "Oh, grand, okay." And your mom's like that 4-year-old seems to, 4 or 5-year-old knows what she's at. But so literally started with the Sound of Music. And then from there just stayed singing. Now, I did briefly fall off the music wagon for the fact that I got quite badly bullied for it. After that, I say this to people openly, it doesn't bother me. I actually had a comb over at age 8 because of the bullying. All my hair kind of fell out just due to the stress of it all. And then I kind of came back to it slow and steady, and then did the school musicals, did the bands, did Skater Boy, Evanescence, and all that jazz. And then I started being in cover bands and stuff like that when I was in college, and it actually helped pay. So I used to work during the day in lifestyle sports, and then I do weddings and stuff like that at the nighttime. So that's actually how I paid for college and stuff. So it was just and it seems to be my escapism from everything else. So that's kind of where it came from. It's a feast or a famine with me as a writer. So I could go through 6 months and not write something, and then all of a sudden in 24 hours I wrote 3 or 4 songs. So that even happened last Friday. Literally, I was trying to keep the noise down from everyone else because I have a nephew who's trying to sleep. He's only 4. And I went to the bathroom, put the toilet seat down, put the laptop up, and I did 3 songs in succession. And then I was like, all right, they're done now. I went. So there you go.
And then obviously you studied music professionally at BIM. I was wondering what kind of made you want to take the leap into actually doing it as a full-time profession, and also what do you feel you learned there while you were there?
So the way that it worked out with that was when I initially wanted to go to college, I wanted to do performance in some state or form. Though my art teacher wanted me to do art. She was very mad I didn't go to art college. Got trouble for that one. I want to do comic book art. Do you know Marvel and DC? That's the job I wanted. I love that kind of art, but hey. My parents "Oh no, you need do something safe," that kind of a way. So the only other profession I really had an interest in was actually teaching. So I did a degree in teaching. I did actually, weirdly enough, I ended up doing a master's in geography as well.
Nice.
Like it was like I was head wrecked at the end of it all. I was tired. Like it was a good experience, don't get me wrong. And then I was teaching and I kind of turned around to my principal at the time because I'd kind of cut my teeth and I said, look, I was already gigging, like I was gigging 3-4 gigs a weekend. So I was working technically full time while teaching full time.
Yeah.
So I went to him and said, look, I really want to qualify in this in commercial modern vocal. So, you know, can I reduce my hours? And he actually let me because I set up the choir and I did the shows with the kids and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a trade-off. So I was let go back and do it then. So I actually like timetabled it, but it used to be quite funny in BIM because everyone like, oh, are you going to the, I think is it the Jug or something like that? I'm like, no lads, sorry, I gotta go gig. And they were like, what? I'd be like, sorry. And now one thing about BIM, I love that like it put me in contact with a lot of people. My guitarist, Kev, he was in the guitar, but like we actually didn't know each other. Yeah. It's only afterwards we knew each other because he actually saw me singing with a big band, Route 66, started following me. And then during COVID, we started chatting. And then, so God love him, he's been stuck with me since. So I think BIM's great for creating community. Like even in my headline show in Whelan's, one of my support acts is actually Ro Elizabeth. And she's one of my friends from BIM and she's brilliant. So I found it great for like, I actually found like a lot of the friendships I made from BIM really, really great. I found great for like kind of networking that. I know like the lecturer Tully Gunn, I've worked a little bit with Tully as well in that regard. Great producer. And then just really good. Like it was very funny though. I think when I was in the course, a lot of people were like, wait, how many gigs do you have done? I was like, so it was funny because a few of the people I'd be like, do you want to show, like, do you want a depth for me? So I'd be showing them the depth thing.
Yeah.
Like they could stand in for me if I couldn't do something else. So I actually ended up getting like a few people like kind of on the circuit because even like Shelley was like, you already gig full time. I was like, yeah. So like it was great, but I love the technical side. I love the vocal technique side of things. I just love seeing how the voice works and how it's such a different instrument. I absolutely like adore that. Like I'm a big nerd for it. I've gone on and done more vocal courses because of the course in BIM, just based purely on voice and vocal health and what it can indicate to other like issues within your system. You just like, again, everything's connected, so it's actually a great tracker for like general health. So I just like, that's what I it started me on that path and I'm delighted. Like I loved it.
Yeah. And then you're talking about like doing teaching then, so I mean like how do you kind of balance them? Are you still teaching, by the way, Zach?
Balancing is a
sorry.
It's tiring, I won't lie. Tired most of the time. So I kind of schedule it in such a way that so I teach like depending on the hours you get allocated. Like when you start teaching, you might be on full hours, so it is a bit easier. So what I actually do is I get up at 5:30 in the morning and I go to the gym and then go to school, do my thing, and then maybe come home until about 6, do my corrections and stuff, and then after that it's music stuff. But I tend to do like rehearsals and gigs, and it could be quite late at night. It's just if you want to stay with it, you have to stay with it. Like I left teaching in late 2019. I was working full time in music, nothing else, and then COVID hit in 2020. Now thankfully I had already kind of gotten a name for myself as a voice coach, so I was able to like segue into that not too badly with everything, so I was kind of okay that way. But like I missed the gigging, I missed the live shows. It like that's what I was doing full time. Like I actually did love being my own boss, which was awesome. But yeah, I did it full time, but it is hard to do both jobs. Like even my MD, we're even talking about like long term, like it'd be a case of like push down the teaching hours and more into the music hours, but you kind of have to have a balancing act between the two, because at the same time I do love being a teacher too. Like I do love dealing with young people. Like even this year I put on a cabaret with the school I was in, and the girls were phenomenal, and everyone was like, Jesus, I didn't know those girls could sing, and I didn't know that could sing, and she could do this, and da, 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 da. And it was so great to kind of see them find themselves in the show and find themselves in the songs. Like some people were like, she could sing like that. And I was like, yeah, I know, right? And it's amazing seeing people come into that, because that's what made the difference to me, is like one or two people that took a bit of time to draw that out of me, because I wouldn't have been real kind of brassy and in your face. Like I'm by default, I kind of avoid, it sounds contradictory, I avoid being in the limelight. I'm grand when I sing.
Yeah.
Just don't make me talk about like this kind of stuff. I'm like, oh God, Jesus. I sound like an idiot. But it's great seeing it and seeing the kids, and then they get their confidence, and then that confidence feeds into other areas. So for me, it would be hard to completely leave it if I did, because I love seeing that. Like even the kids in school, they'd be like, oh yeah, so like what's it like when you do a video? I'm like, normally freezing. Normally it's like the middle of the night because you can't have a crowd. Like, yeah, but it looks cool. It's like, yeah, do you realize like, you know, you go like sit in a shower for like an hour afterwards because you can't feel the rest of your body and you're on the floor. Like I was like, it looks cool, but it's the practicalities. And they're like, how do you do? It's like, I have a diary. Here we go. See this? Like you guys, yeah, this is my life.
Yeah.
So it's balancing. It's tough. It is. I'm not going to say it's not tough. It is tough. But it's just, if you love it, you'll do it. That's the thing. Like I can't. It's like an addiction.
Yeah.
I can't give it up.
No, I know plenty of people who are in like similar scenarios too. One thing I want to actually ask is, so you were talking about like working with kids who you know, otherwise people thought might be able to sing, and they're getting their first exposure to being able to perform for the first time. As you were mentioning earlier, you were kind of bullied for that when you were in school. Do you find that experience kind of helps you in kind of encouraging the kids and kind of and not only that, but kind of dissuading any negativity perhaps?
Yeah, I'm very much so like that. It's funny because of that. At the time that would have happened when I was younger, my grandfather passed away at the same time, and I was very close to him. And I remember, I went to a bit of counseling after, when I was about maybe 12, 13, and it became a thing that my grief for my grandfather and my bullying actually got locked into the same kind of section in my mind almost. So music kind of helped me deal with that quite a bit. So for me, when I'm with the kids, it's kind of, I'm very conscious that everyone should get the opportunity to shine. Like not everyone's going to be the best singer, the best actress, best dancer, but everyone's going to find their place one way or another. You just have to support them along the way. Like I'll give you an example. I had one of the kids, a natural born actress, like without a doubt, like natural born actress. Like, I mean, her accent, like at the end, I think of people at the show, like, is she from the UK? I was like, no, she's just brilliant at that. Like she did not drop it. She was brilliant. Yeah. But there was an incident with like a song that she was singing with someone else singing, and and she was like, I can't. And I was like, look, you're okay. Like you've got this. Like I wouldn't have given it to you if I didn't think you were able to carry it. Yeah. And I said, like, and if you make a mistake and if something goes wrong, I'll be right there in the pit, because I also had a choir, so I taught the choir the songs as well. So what I did is I said, like, if you ever feel, and I said to all of them, if you ever feel like you're not like you're off or something, just look at me. I'm right there. I am there to support you. I'm not there to like watch. And I said it to them. And sometimes people can get a bit like talking about people and make comments. And I actually like would have said this outright. If you comment on somebody else, you have to remember your ability. Let's say some people would be natural dancers. You have to remember not everyone's a natural dancer. So you have to have patience with people. Not everyone comes to the table with the same skill set. You've got to have patience. You've got to have that understanding, because what you might be good at, someone else might be crap at, but they just need a little bit of time. Like you have to be kind. And I kept saying this over the last few years. I want everyone to have a moment, one moment where it's about them, and everyone knows it's about them. It doesn't matter if it's just one line. It doesn't matter. Like if they did all the like scenery for the set, they need to be seen. They need to be acknowledged. And it's like, it's funny because that was the big thing. Everybody has to get a moment and be seen, because a show doesn't happen just because you have a few decent singers. Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
It's everything. It's costume. It's like making the programs. Like two of the girls who didn't want to be on stage, they made these programs, and the programs were class.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I would definitely hire them for graphics. Like, we just played around. I was like, class, and you could see they were kind of going. You know, it's just gives them a little bit of confidence, and you'd be really surprised. And when it comes down to it, people row in with each other. They realize like everyone's a little bit different, and that's the thing with the arts. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like my voice might not everyone might like my voice. That's okay. Like some people love you, some people hate you. It's just kind of the game. But like you'll find your tribe one way or another. But when it comes to performance, I'm very much so. Every kid gets an opportunity to either, if they don't want to be on stage, they can design, they can do costume. Everyone gets a chance, and everyone gets seen and gets thanked for it, because it doesn't happen alone. And I'm very mindful of that. So, and bullying, it's a big no-no. It's actually why I went into teaching, if I'm being really honest. That's part of why I went into it, because you see it and it can really damage somebody long term. And I think kind of music is kind of oddly enough, is a good way for a melting pot between different groups. So for example, in choir, I know that there was a few kids who maybe weren't so kind of, they wouldn't be in a particular group. They joined choir. They became the best kids to go to if something needs to be done. They're like, yeah, I'll photocopy that. Yeah, I'll organize that. Yeah, I'll go around telling them the rehearsals are on. And they end up having their own little tribe from it.
Yeah.
Do you know? And it's amazing what music can do. Like even like, I used to be like, but I don't want to sing one. That's absolutely fine. Just come, enjoy it. Just have a bit of fun with it. Like, and so I think music is kind of good for the soul and good for my head. Good for all parts.
No, but that's great though, because like I think some people could potentially get kind of bitter about that, you know what I mean? But like it seems like you're turning that kind of experience into something positive, which is to try and I guess prevent future generations from kind of having to experience what you experience, which I think is really positive.
I wouldn't put anyone through it. It's not fair. Like no one, I always say is no one deserves that, because like you don't know what someone's going through at the time.
Right.
And you do like, and don't get me wrong, every so often someone might act up and might act out character, but normally if you've got any sense in your head and it's outside character, you'll know, you'll read the behavior and you'll be like, right, that seems a bit off center. But it's even at a gig, like you'd even see it, and I'd be singing at gigs. I would know some of the locals of some of the gigs I do, and I'd know by looking straight away, like something's off there. And I'd actually go and ask them, are they okay? And it's funny, because of that, I actually like kind of at different places for the gig in Whelan's, there's a group from a bar in Rathcoole in the Bernafay, and they're actually coming to it because like they've kind of taken me in as their own.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. Like it's just being empathetic, understanding, and I think music is a great kind of connection point for people.
Yeah, it kind of removes a barrier, I think. Yeah,
and it's, for me, musically, it allows me to say things that maybe I wouldn't really say, like I would want to say, but I just be like, oh Jesus, no, I'm coming a bit hot and heavy with that. No, let's not say that. You know.
That kind of segues us great into your new single "Blame" then that's coming up. And as I was listening to the song, I was kind of thinking it seemed like a very like righteous indignation, like here's how I'm feeling, and you know, maybe if you could talk a little bit about it.
This one's a very honest song, I won't lie. Oh God, wow. Blame is actually written off me being quite badly treated in a certain environment in the workplace.
Okay.
And it was a case of like, I kind of took it because, again, trying to be professional, and then eventually, like, I was a bit, why the hell am I putting up with this? I'm a grown woman, like.
Yeah.
And the song is basically a case of, you know, you have your issues with you. That's yours. Stop putting them on me, because it's nothing to do with me. And it actually, funny enough, when I look back and when I did write the song, I remember being like, this isn't my problem, like I'm a focal point for you for whatever issue you're going through. You need to figure out why you're going through that issue, but it's not on me to sort that out for you. And that's kind of like, because I was taking it on myself and I was getting quite down and quite depressed about it, and quite like it became a case where like I got diagnosed with situational depression.
Right.
And I was like, oh dear God, right, I need to change this. And so the song is literally like, at the end, it's literally me going, I figure this out. Like I'm not taking this anymore. Like I don't care. Like it's not my problem. It is yours. Sort yourself out.
Yeah.
And it's very much so like even the songs that are coming up since then, like since I'd say honestly, Heaven and Hell, Replace Me, this one, there's other ones like Narcissus, No Love, they're all gonna be coming out. I can literally tell you the time, place, location,
Yeah.
what it's about. It's very clear. Like when Replace Me came out, oddly enough, one of my exes from like yonks back messaged me going, good song, wasn't about me, right? God, it's not about you.
Yeah.
I was like, no. Well, not you, maybe one before you. Everyone after you, but not, you know, that kind of a way.
Yeah.
I was like, this is very much so a Taylor Swift moment. So I'm very honest, and I think it's kind of a case of, I used to write for other people years ago. I wrote for other bands. I used to get pulled in for it, and then people were like, "Oh yeah, you should write. You should really release your own stuff." I was like, "Oh, okay, right." When I started at the start of it, I was a bit kind of like, I was writing for the audience, but I wasn't writing for me.
Right.
And what ended up happening was COVID happened, and I kind of reset everything, and I went, "What am I doing?" And all of a sudden, literally coming out of COVID, I started writing from my perspective, like very much so, this is what's happening with me, and being very, very honest to the point where, I mean, if your ex can like go, "Is that about me?" You're like, no.
Yeah.
So like, it's a very honest point, but it's been very cathartic for me. And I think it's a few people said like it's more like the flow of the songs is very natural, very quick. Like I will write a song in under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I'll have generally the bones of it. If I have to spend too long trying to figure it out, it's not for me.
Sure.
So it's made me a bit, I think COVID in a weird way made me a better writer. Maybe, I don't know. People mightn't agree with that, but we'll see.
Well, I know it's if correct me if I'm wrong, this third single off an upcoming EP.
So that could actually be turning into a full album from the looks of
Okay.
things. But yeah, because like I was talking to my producer in Germany about it, and it's like even the band, it was like, you've got this one, Blame, Narcissist is done, there's No Love, Hell and Back, what is the other one? Downgrade and Wire.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, you know, you literally like for the last years, you probably have like 2 EPs or at least like quite a large album. I'm like, oh yeah, I suppose. So, you know, I don't think about it because I write and I write fast when it happens, and then it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, this is coming off the back of it. So the next thing is, once Blame's out, there's kind of a debate about which one comes out next. So there's a debate if it's going to be a ballad called Hell and Back, or if it's going to be No Love. I kind of partly want to push the No Love one, and then push the ballad in the new year, but we'll see. There's a whole like conversation around that, so we'll see how that goes.
I was going to ask was, do you think there's a kind of theme between the music scene? Because I was noticing, for example, with Replace Me and Blame, there was a kind of a similar theme of irreplaceability, of self-worth, for example. Do you think these are connecting tissue in the music, or are these just coincidental?
No, genuinely, because like what actually happened was Heaven and Hell was meant to be the start of like the newer sound. So I loved Stranger and Shatterproof. I absolutely like love My Stranger. I just think it's a really cute pop song.
Yeah.
And Shatterproof was very therapeutic as well. But Shatterproof would have been the starting point to go to Heaven and Hell. Heaven and Hell, fun enough, there is a common theme to everything I'm writing. So Heaven and Hell, for example, would be, the producer for Heaven and Hell was Killian Cruiser over in LA, but then Haddle came in on the top line, and the same thing with Replace Me. So now Haddle's kind of in as a main producer going forward, because you'll notice the sound. There's a very definite sound from him, and like he's brilliant. Like, but the theme for Heaven and Hell is basically about finding faith. So it can be read 2 ways: either falling for somebody and giving yourself over to that relationship and not self-sabotaging, because Running to You, funnily enough, is about self-sabotaging yourself in a relationship. or finding fate, like when something goes quite badly, just giving yourself over and go, look, this is what I have to deal with. I'm going to just kind of put my head down and just get through it. And then replace me is kind of moving, kind of, they were two emotions at the same time. So heaven and hell was happening alongside replace me, which was like me kind of looking back at a previous situation with somebody kind of going, I'm not here, mommy. I'm not here to fix this.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like, you know, which is kind of what it is. And also it's kind of to do a little bit with people leaning, look, everyone can do what they want. I have no issues. Like, do your thing, like substances, whatever. I'm not here to judge. It was more the fact that I found that like people were kind of escaping into that, but not dealing with the issues. It was like, it was a mask over what they needed to deal with. And that's actually part of what replacing is about. It's like, you need to stop doing that because you're not engaging with where that emotion is actually coming from, and it's going to damage you. And as a result, it's damaged your relationship with like your friends, your family. And it's basically me saying, you need to deal with that. Yeah. You can't put it on everybody else. And then blame is literally, again, they are genuine parts of my life, like blame, working environment. Narcissist is to do with someone who literally you couldn't, someone who always has to be right no matter what.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you but understanding that that's coming from a place of see, this is terrible. I know who it's wrote about. It's like, I know you want to be confident, if that makes sense. And as a result, you tend to say things hurtful, kind of downplaying other people. But the truth is you're actually insecure, but you're just not willing to have a look at that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of what that's about. And even that's to do with everybody. It's like we all kind of put a front on, but are we actually being authentic to ourselves? And it's kind of, everyone has a narcissistic tendency to want to be like, oh, I'm great, I'm this and da 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 da, like perceived. But the reality is like, how do we actually feel about ourselves? Because God knows I never think anything I write is good enough. So
yeah,
you know, so it is. And then like, I suppose no love is literally me telling someone, look, I get that you like me that much, but I'm just not feeling the same way.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, so everything is very honest. There is a definite theme. It's a bit darker. I feel like I probably need to do one little like boppy little pop tune again. And it's funny because Narcissist, my guitarist Kev, he's like, it's very Tate McRae, and he's like, I love this, and I'm like, huh? You know, it's real R&B kind of vibe. I'm like, I did not expect that from you, Kev. But it's kind of like there is definitely a theme. I can, even my mom will listen and kind of know straight away. That's about that. That's about that situation. And it's just a bit darker. I think I'm trying to bring in more organic instrumentation as well into the tracks, because I love Evanescence, I love Fletcher, I love Paris, PVRS, not Paris the city.
Oh, you love Paris
at the same time. But I also love like the likes of Rebecca Black, Tovo Low. So I'm very like Tinashe as well. Like I'm super mixed between like R&B, pop, rock. Like I'm like rock, I'm like new metal, I'm like Evanescence, Within Temptation. Like that's my wheelhouse, you know, and that's what I came from.
Yeah.
So I'm just super influenced, and I think pop, funny enough, allows me to kind of move organically between them. But yeah, no, there is definitely a theme. I think it's just I'm just trying to be more honest about who I am musically and sonically. Again, it's like everything. Some stuff feels a little bit more me than others, depending on how it ends up on the line. But it's like anything. It's like you're still growing, you're still developing as a person, even till the day you die. So same with the music, I suppose. Really.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's one interesting thing I want to talk about, because like I believe you worked as a session musician, right? So now that you have like a full solo project that you kind of get to dictate, and do you find that more freeing then? Because like, or you know, in some ways it's even overwhelming because you kind of have so much freedom now.
Oh God, yeah, because like I came from session singing, so I used to do an awful lot of it over in the States. I used to go over and back to New York and stuff. I did some stuff for like different groups. So one group is attached to Keith Urban and stuff like that.
Okay.
So like I used to be brought in for it, and then when I came back here, I did a good bit of it, and then you do your gigs. But when it's your own kind of band as such, it's a bit like, and I'm not really. It sounds funny. I write the songs. I am definitely not a dictator, though. I'm very much so open to input from everybody, because what I hear may not be the correct way to progress with a song.
Sure.
So, for example, even last week we were talking about the song Narcissist. I was like, oh God, that riff that Kev does in guitar, it's class. I should really put into the recording. And then we were like all sitting back, like, and then Fergal, who's the MD, was like, does it not feel like you're kind of shoehorning it in there just to have the organic instrument? I was like, yeah. And then when I sat back, I went, yeah, it doesn't like it doesn't sit now because of where it is in production. So like I like that, because it challenges where you're coming from, rather than I have this feeling I'm going to run into this right now. It may not be what the song needs. Like Colin Sexton, who I work with in terms of music and film, he's brilliant. He will be so honest about a song with me where I'm like, oh God, Jesus, it's terrible. But I love that, because if I didn't have that, he's made really, really good calls. Hadl is a phenomenal producer, but even like, you're like, don't think it needs that. And, you know, maybe we could do this. But it's funny. I like that, because again, I know what I want at the end of the day, but sometimes I'm not sure how to get there.
Sure.
So by working with these other people and having their input, it allows me to kind of get a bit more, I suppose, it gives me more of a sense of how steady I am in where this song needs to be.
Sure.
Because it challenges you, like, are you that tied to that outline for a particular reason?
Yeah. And so it's always in service of the music itself. It's never just like, because like, as you were saying, like obviously you want to add more organic instrumentation, but at the same time, it's like find the right place for it, and as long as it's in servitude of a song,
yeah, don't kind of like just shoehorn in there for the crack of it, because sometimes it doesn't actually serve the song in the first place. And
right.
You need that sometimes. And to be honest with you, I'm super lucky, because the people I now work with, like, it's taken me a while to find my people, my tribe, if that makes sense, musically, in terms of like the band and stuff. But the lads are brilliant. They're just great people to work with. And it's even just, I bounced over an idea to Fergal there earlier. Goes, I really like this, but you need to up the tempo on it. And I'm like, you know, like, and I always say this, I'm not precious about it.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, some people are going to love what you do, some people aren't. It's just, and it's taken me a long time to have confidence with that. I mean, when you're a session musician, they hand you a song and you're like, oh yeah, so can you have this off now? Boom, go and do it.
Yeah.
And you're there to facilitate what they want to do. So like I had to get out of the habit of being like that. That's taken a bit of doing, like, because you're almost like a machine when you do that. Like, can you get, like, one group wanted they're a blues rock band, and they wanted like kind of Great Gig in the Sky kind of vibe. They're like, yeah, can you give us a bit of that? I was like, okay. And then they played the song and off I went, you know. But it's just, it's different when it's your own. And I think I'm always really nervous of playing new songs for people, because I'm like, oh God, I'm too shy. And I'm like, you have to get over that. You have to get over that. But yeah, no, I don't mind it. I actually don't mind. I don't mind that it's my own project. Sounds funny. I don't see it as just me. I see it as like, I like the idea of a band. I like the idea of a team working together. I get that I have a name, Micah, with it, but part of me would like to be Micah, and because I prefer that, because I feel like that's, you know, no one man is an island, or whatever they say. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't know.
One final thing I'll just ask you about real quick is your upcoming gig. I just have it written down here. It's August 19th. It's upstairs at Whelan's. You have, as you mentioned, Rue Elizabeth supporting, as well as Natalie Moran, who's another really great musician. I was just wondering, are you excited for it, and what can kind of people expect if they come along?
Oh God. Well, actually today there was we have nearly too many songs, so we had to cut one or two. Yeah, like, because the way it worked out is I didn't think I had enough originals, and then when we did it, we're like, it's about an hour and a half.
Okay.
So I need to cut down a little bit for the headline. But yeah, it's going to be really mixed. There's going to be some of my older stuff when I was kind of doing the pop EDM, a bit of Invisible Fire and Take Me Away, and that I did with Leo Dynamic One. So that'll be in the set, and then it'll be like some of the new ones. Not all of the new ones, because obviously they're in production at the moment, but it'll be quite lively. There is going to be a little bit of an acoustic breakdown set as well, but it's looking to be like I'm commenting on the lads. The lads are absolutely like, can't say it, but they're, you know, SHIT hot.
Okay,
They're
yeah.
brilliant. Like, and it's going like, they're going to be phenomenal. Like I just know it. Like, everything's very tight. And it's just like, I think I suppose in one way it's going to be a very honest gig as well, because like, just because of what I'll be talking about, and then having Rue and Natalie, like they're phenomenal. And I mean, like, even I remember getting the opportunity even to ring up Rue as I would know her, like I know her as Robin, and going,
Yeah.
can you do my gig? Are you available? And she was like, oh yeah. You know, that kind of way. Like I'd always like envision myself when I was in BIM, like doing gigs with her.
Yeah.
So it's kind of mad that I get to finally do this. And then Natalie, like we actually know each other through just music circles, like never actually getting to meet. And then I was just like she'd be perfect. Like, so that's why I like bounced on, and she's like, yeah, totally, I'm up for it. So like it like, I'm delighted that way, but it's looking to be really good night. I really hope people go, because I think like it'll be a good show. Fingers crossed. And yeah, because I did a gig last year in Lost Lane. It wasn't like a big gig, it was like a video launch.
Okay.
And it was more like people to do with the music video that was shot for Stranger. It was that kind of a thing, and that kind of more of a thank you. And the next thing, like we didn't realize we had way more people show up than we planned. It was like, what? Because I hadn't actually like advertised it as such. It was more just a thank you industry thing. And the next thing, there was like, well, 100 people. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And everyone was saying, you really should just do a show, like. And I was like, will people actually go? But everyone's saying like, the lads are delighted, and it seems to be coming together well. And I think it'll be a really good gig. It's just, people should go. Supporting the artists.
And it's a really nice venue for it too, because Upstairs Williams is so intimate. So you're talking about that kind of honesty, and I think like it is a great venue if you want like shared moments, for example, or shared experience with the audience, because they're just like literally right there at your face.
That's it. And the thing is, like, getting a Saturday night in Whelan's, I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Look at that. You know, like I was a bit like, are you sure?
Yeah.
You know, because like, yeah, would you like the Saturday? I was like, okay. And then I texted a few people, I was like, what do you think Saturday? Went, oh my god, take the Saturday. I was like, okay. Because like I was like, oh cool. So I know that there's actually a good few people coming up from Tipperary, from where I'm from. There's the lads coming from over from Rathcoole and a few others. Now, like, because obviously being a teacher, a lot of the kids are like, yeah, I was always over 18s, like what the hell, miss? It's like, so I was told, like, even by one of the members in Hot Press, Mark, he said, oh, you should really think about doing an all ages gig at some point, because he goes, clearly, like, you have a teenage demographic, like, that, you know you and stuff. So off the back of that, to kind of cover the halfway point, I said I would do in HMV in Henry Street. I'm doing a gig there for an hour, like it's an acoustic breakdown on the 13th of August at 3 p.m. So then at least like the students can kind of go to that. And I was like, I've warned them, if you heckle me, I swear to God, I'll pull you up and make you sing. You know, they're like, yeah, miss, sure you. I was like, I know you can, don't think I won't do it. But yeah, no, because apparently some of the kids as well, the mums were telling me at the end of the school year, like, oh yeah, my daughter's asked me to buy tickets for your show and I have to go with. And I was like, you don't expect that. But it's really nice to hear like that, like people kind of, because I've had some of the kids try to sing some of the songs, and it's very funny because I'll be like, I think you need to like engage your diaphragm a bit more, and they're like, damn it.
It's just gone to didact mode.
Oh yeah, like if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right. You know. But so I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's kind of, I'm hoping off the back of that, like it's a start of like more original gigs, because obviously the one in Rathcoole is for endometrial cancer, and it's a fundraiser, it's a whole thing that I'm part of, because I think it's really important. So we're doing that this weekend on the 5th, and then so it's like literally in the space of I think 24 hours, I had 3 like kind of original gigs.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I've got my like covers thing that I do in between. So, you know, kept going. But like, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. A little nervous, and I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. But
I'm kind of excited for it as well. So as long as I don't fall off the stage, but it's not a very high stage, I'll be fine.
You'd be okay.
Because that happened years ago.
Oh, really?
When I was in a girl band, I actually fell off a stage. I still kept singing though.
Okay,
So
that's professional.
yeah, I yeah, no, thank God. Even the sound engineer was like, "Jeez, I don't know how you did that." I was like, "I don't know either." Just you got to keep going. What the show must go on, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Just like people come along and it'll be a good night. And I mean, if nothing else, it's a Saturday night. Just go out in the tear after in
Yeah.
bed. You know what I mean? It's an excuse to go out in the tear. Like it'll be grand.
Well, thanks very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And is there
Yeah.
anything you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Well, I suppose just like Whelan's on the 19th of August, HMV on the 13th of August, 3 p.m. And then if anyone's around the Rathcoole kind of area, for the endometrial cancer fundraiser. And then if people want to like pre-save my song Blame, that drops on the 11th, where I am giving out about a certain person, please do and save it.
Thank you for listening to that episode
Perfect.
of Post-Burnout.com interviews. We hope you enjoyed and stay tuned for more.